Karnak gets a rude awakening, Gorgon goes hunting, and Blackbolt and Medusa get a glimpse at why some Inhumans might be supporting Maximus. It's a bit of an eye-opener this week on Marvel's Inhumans. Episode 5, Something Inhuman This Way Comes. Hey everyone, D here, and welcome to this week's review of Inhumans. So yes, of course, spoilers are ahead. Alright, so, it wasn't a terrible episode this week. I know, shocking. Perhaps it's just that my expectations have dropped down far enough, but to be honest, there were actually a couple of really interesting moments. There were some cool bits between actors, some good story moments, and some good ideas that almost really worked. But, let's start things off differently. Let's talk about what worked for me this week. And I have to say, a lot of it is the emotional connections between some of the characters. Primarily, we'll talk about Blackbolt and Medusa. Serinda Swan and Anson Mount were marvelous this week. I just gotta say, really, those quiet moments between the two of them in the backseat of Luisa's car as they're doing their little sign language communication, there is a connection there. There was a real strength in Anson's presence at that moment. And I think that really comes across because of how much time the two of these actors spent to try and develop their little sign language and things. And yes, we've already had talk about the good and the bad sides of that. Part of me really, in fact, wishes there was less of it, because honestly, with the hand movements, it kind of took away the small bits where it was just sort of a little reaching, where you could just see almost like the two of them are talking, but Anson's just not moving his mouth. Those were moments to me that really worked, the really kind of emotional connection the two of them had, and I thought that played out really well this week. We also, of course, have Karnak and Jen, really kind of a center of this week's episode. Really with Karnak's evolution, getting some of his powers back, not entirely for good or for ill, but really there was a lot of great story moments there, a lot of conversation. I mean, and some of it is just how much Karnak needs to trust his abilities, to go with it. But really, it was a lot of the just emotional connection, I think, between the two actors, I think really played out. And part of it was because they had some time to do things with this week. They had a bit of an arc. And Karnak really got to show bits of his power set without it being flashy. And I thought that was great. I loved that there was some positive aspects, some strength that was being associated with the powers. A lot of times it seems throughout this series, they're trying to ignore the powers as much as they can. And even Jen's statement to Karnak about later on about, a little bit of doubt is good for you. Yes, I mean, in a sense, and her point of people that have no doubt are the ones you want to worry about because they're the crazy ones. And that is true. But those type of identifiers don't necessarily work with Inhumans, especially someone like Karnak, who is kind of a logical machine. Not letting doubt hold you back, living with doubt, is okay. That might have been a little better point to reinforce. But that having doubt is okay, because for someone like Karnak, again, that undercuts who he is, in a sense. And to me, that didn't quite translate, I think, the way that they really wanted it to. But it was a great arc, I think, the two of them, especially for Karnak, and his little bits of emotional connection with Gorgon. That was the one other thing that I liked of Gorgon's little reflection back and forth, the little flashbacks between them, and how in some way Karnak has to embrace a bit more of Gorgon's just joie de vivre, just jumping into the fray of things, while at the same time Gorgon was thinking, how would Karnak approach this? How should I think? So the two of them learning something from each other, and resultantly Karnak's kind of joy at seeing Gorgon, in fact, undercutting his expectations, I thought was something that was really well. So those were good character moments, I thought, that really played to the actor's strength and to the time that was spent on that particular arc in this story. Now, the other big point that was sort of brought up in this episode is maybe the reasons for some of the citizens of Adelon to be backing Maximus in his revolt is the old system versus the new system. We have someone like Locus who really kind of throws it back in Blackbolt and Medusa's face, talking about, how you treat us. That this caste system is limiting, that maybe people want freedom. Maybe they don't want to be just what Terrigenesis has decided for them. And that is a strong, I think, backing for Maximus' idea. People want to be free. They want to be able to have their choice. That's something I think we can all identify with. The problem with it is any of these discussions, any of these points being brought up are completely undercut by a lack of setup, a lack of real background of the caste system. We get a brief kind of introduction in the first episode or so. We get the speech by Maximus about we want to change things, we want to be free, and we want to, go down to earth and be able to choose what we want to do. And that's all great. Those are big promises. But we don't see the whole rest of how the society actually works. I mean, we talk about, you can be a flyer and doing great things, or you're down in the mines. But who makes the chairs? Where's the farming level in this? What are the technical levels of this? Where are the people that work on the machinery? There's been no real discussion of the class system and how that works and how, is there any way to move in between? Is it just a choice of your abilities? Is the Terrigenesis what chooses you to be in the mines, or is it something else? I mean, we say Locus had mentioned that she wanted to be a healer, but Terrigenesis made her the finder of things. Yes, want to have the opportunity to do that, but we also don't see of why, from Medusa's standpoint, the idea of Terrigenesis is so necessary for Inhuman's life. She mentions it briefly when she says the Terrigenesis, chooses what you need to be, what society needs to be. But that's it. That's been the only real discussion on that point. And I think there would be such a stronger argument on both sides to be made if we were allowed to spend more time in the beginning of the series to set things up, to really see how the class structure works, to really see where everybody goes in, what the arguments may be, maybe seeing some grumbling underneath. When the only crowd that we saw with Maximus and Blackbolt was when they were walking through and waving and everything, and everyone was like, yeah, in the beginning of the first episode, and that was kind of it. So all of these discussions about, Maximus versus Blackbolt, freedom versus caste society, we don't have enough background to really dive in outside of just the surface level freedom versus not freedom. Of course, as it turns out to be, is that Maximus's idea of freedom is great as long as things are going his way. But as soon as things aren't, forced conscription is certainly something that he is more than willing to do, which is, I think, why Tybor brings up that excellent point of, is what you're doing, is it for the benefit of Adelon, the Inhumans, or is it for the benefit of Maximus? And those would be the interesting points to go, is to find out is that maybe Maximus is going to do the exact same thing that Blackbolt was, just with different language. All right, so let's hit some small points real quick. One, Karnak's attack of the bullet. Ha! Was he supposed to split it or deflect it? The way it was turning and he hit, is that why I went over and hit Jen? They didn't really go into that. I was just kind of curious. I mean, cool move, but really, that would have, the bullet, no. And Maximus's line, it's not freedom unless it's earned. Yeah, I think that's the basis of manipulation right there. Oh yeah, I'll give it to you. Oh, but now I need you to do something so you can have it. When Gorgon brought the American flag into Karnak, I was all faded and white. Perfect. Beautiful. And in fact, depending on how long ago, it should have been full white. But yes, the flags up on top of the moon have all completely faded at this point. You know how you leave something out in the sun and the UV fades it? Well, this is on the moon with absolutely no atmosphere plus cosmic rays. So yeah, that stuff fades quick. So I did like, that was a cool bit for them to keep in that shot. When Oron was on a little communicator with Maximus and called him King Maximus, yeah, Declan caught that too. So as much as Maximus may not want Declan to know that he is Max, I think he's putting it together. Glad that Sammy, Blackbolt's little lava buddy, is still alive. Of course, he's prisoner of the Keystone criminals there. Well, I guess just two of them. Though, as annoying as Mortis is, he's kind of like the hipster bad guy in the hood. I did have to agree with one line of his when Sammy escapes is, really? Where are you going to go? Also, can you do something else with the lava but just melt the things? I mean, that's not much of an escape plan against people you know that are powerful. Start a lava thing, create a line in between, something. Just, I don't know. I'm glad Sammy's around, but that was bad. Karnak's statement, 1 day, 6 hours, 46 minutes. That's how long he was with Jen. And I think that it was, in some ways, kind of appropriate, considering the opening episode, that he didn't think he'd be able to last 2 days with a girl that was serving drinks. So, I don't know. I guess he was kind of right, but also she dumped him. So, a little different. Alright, so Karnak and Jen hid in the daytime. The next shot we see when Karnak attacks, it's at night. So did it take them all day to load up those crates on the truck? Also, if it's night at that point, why not just escape? Why did you go into fight? I mean, it was a cool bit. Well, I mean, it's shot in the dark, so you don't see quite as much. But yeah, it was just, it was an interesting moment. We got to have some cool combat bit, but really, should have just ran. Absolutely no reason for that fight at all. I'm going to assume that Crystal, Lockjaw, and Hunky Boy were jumping all over the island, and they're just not that one jump that took like half a day to do. They seem to imply that. And I like the idea of the whole hang loose and take a moment. Less appropriate when you know that there's just been a coup and you're being hunted and you just escaped and the rest of your family is in danger. No, this is the time you got to keep pressing forward. Ah, yes, and that ending. Okay, so they go through the adventure and then Jen's just like, all right, you guys take off. I'm out of here. This is the end of my work week. I'm not doing any more. That seemed kind of convenient. Also, Locus just dropping from being shot right at that point so she could give the final line, "Be the king we want us to." Ah. I don't know. Cheesy. I didn't. It was rote. It was boring. Anyway. But at least maybe that spurs Maximus to do something different. You gotta have the dead person giving their last wish to motivate you to do some change, so just check that one off the box of plot motivations. Alright, so I think that pretty much wraps things up. So like I said, not a horrible episode. There were some good emotional moments here. There were some good connections with people. It's unfortunate that we gotta get 2/3 through the season in order before we start feeling anything for anybody. But, at least it's happening. Also, we found out a few things. Well, Medusa and Blackbolt did. One, that Crystal is on the island. So they don't have to worry about Luis's whole hitch-a-ride on their manned mission to the moon. Yeah, I really didn't see how that was going to work. But also that Tybor has discovered some other rebels in Adelan. Somebody who's a bit more loyal to the old king than to the new king. So that's cool. That should make some little interesting changes up there. Anyway, so like I said, there's only 3 episodes left until the end. We got 2 more, and then we got the big finale, and that's it. So we've got the family together, so all we have to do is get Crystal, and then they can get back up to the moon, say some thanks to the humans that helped them out. Maximus will probably get a little information from Declan about genes, and that won't work out. He'll probably try to do some Terrigenesis thing, and then get stopped at the last moment. I don't know. I'm just guessing. I don't really see, they don't have much time to do anything else for this story to wrap things up, and they really got to they can't go to a cliffhanger. This is not going to be renewed. If they're going to cancel Agent Carter, this is not going to be renewed. Anyway, so that's it. We'll wait to see what happens next week. If you did enjoy this review, go ahead and hit that like button. Thoughts, ideas, comments, throw those down in the section below. How are you enjoying the series? Was this a plus up, or have you just given up entirely? Go ahead and let me know. You can always catch me on Twitter and Instagram. I am at Darren Jakes. Please be a subscriber if you are not. Yes, we've got a few episodes of this, but we've also got the Gifted, which is excellent. Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency, Mr. Robot, The Walking Dead returns, and then, of course, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Comes back December 1st. So, don't miss any of those. If you're a subscriber, do it by clicking this button right here. It's my face. And I'll throw up our last couple of reviews. You can go ahead and check those out. They'll be right here. All right, so that's going to be it for me. I'm D, and I'm out of here. Catch you guys next time. Bye-bye.